Hi guys, this is Arnav from the Stars marketing team. This is a second landing page teardown. It's part of a series we're doing where we take a different landing page every week from a different industry and we critique it from a perspective of increasing the number of conversions it yields, so basically conversion optimization. And the reason we're doing this is because this is pretty much what we do every day for our customers. They send us their landing pages and we critique it and we suggest ways in which they could be improved, usually through a conversational landing page to increase conversions. And if you don't know what a conversational landing page is, we will get to that later in this video. So last week we took a look at the LASIK eye surgery space. This week we're going to take a look at the injury lawyer space. So I did a quick search for accident lawyer, Los Angeles, California. Let us take a look at the results. I'm just making sure that CPC extension is on. So these are the results that turn up. The top 4 results are ads, which is expected. So there are 2 sort of interesting observations I made about this space when I was doing research for this. First of all, very dependent on ads, not just digital. I stepped out of the apartment to head over to CVS while I was doing research for this video, and I noticed something which I hadn't noticed before, which is that there was a huge billboard for one of the law firms which I saw appearing in these ads at a point. And these billboards are actually everywhere. So if you live in a US city, especially keep an eye out for them. Personal injury lawyers depend on a multifaceted advertising approach to generate leads. It seems like billboards, digital ads like Google, etc., etc. And the second interesting observation I made about this space is that they have an insanely high cost per click. If you look over here into the right side of the screen, you'll see that the CPC for car accident attorney is $246. Last week, I was looking at LASIK and I thought $15 per click, $15 and $16 per click was high. $246 for car accident attorney is in its own league. Now, with that in mind, if these attorneys are paying $246 per click per visitor, they better have a good landing page experience, a good lead generation experience to capture, to make the most out of the money they're spending for each visit. So let's switch over to the landing page. I actually found a landing page earlier, a couple of days ago when I was doing research, and it's not showing up right now in these results, so I'm just going to switch tabs and open that landing page up. This is what it looked like when I clicked on the ad. And after examining it for a little bit, I sort of narrowed down 3 big issues that I have with this page. The first one is something I mentioned last time as well, which is it has too much text on it. In the LASIK space, they had a lot of text on their page, and I had a problem with that. Over here, it's a legal use case, which makes it particularly egregious because most people don't have a particularly deep understanding of the law. So if you give them a lot of text to read about lawyer services, they're not going to know what to do with that text, and it's probably going to turn them off and increase the likelihood that they're going to drop. So that's going to reduce conversion rate. The second issue I have with this page is in this first fold, there are way too many CTAs. They have 2 do you have a case buttons, they have a free consultation button, they have a contact button. They used to have a red contact us button over here as well. I'm not sure what happened to it. But it was definitely there the last time I looked at it. And they also have a form. So if you count all the CTAs, excluding all of these menu options they have about 9 to 10 in the first fold, which is insane. As a prospect, I'm going to have to sit and think pretty carefully about which button I'm going to click before I actually click it. And in that time thinking, I might drop. So the longer it takes for a prospect to actually generate a lead, the more likely that prospect's going to drop and conversion rate goes down again. And the third issue, which I think is the biggest one, is the use of a form. Again, I mentioned this last week, but in the case of a legal use case, it's particularly bad because we're talking about accident attorneys here. We're talking about lawyers who you approach if you've been in a serious accident and you want to sue for damages. A lot of the time, the prospects for these attorneys are approaching the attorneys for help with a very serious subject matter. They're usually dealing with something that's probably the worst possible moment in their life, having been in a serious accident. And when you are in that state of mind, dealing with something as impersonal as a form is not something that you want to do. And this is something I've learned after speaking to one of our are customers who uses conversational landing pages for their lead capture in the legal space. And what they told us is that when people are looking for legal services, they are usually facing a severe legal or personal issue. And when they're in that state of mind, they want someone to talk to. They don't want to fill out a form. So this form is definitely not helping this legal office's conversion rate. So to sum that up real quick, too many CTAs, too much text, and a form, which is impersonal. So with that in mind, we created a conversational landing page to address these issues. This is what it looks like. If this is your first time seeing a conversational landing page, this is essentially what it is. You click on a Google ad and you land into a chat with a virtual agent who can generate a lead for you or who can capture your lead information for you. Now, the first thing you'll notice, as I mentioned last week, is that there's not much text on the page itself. There's about 3 messages, and each of these messages is the length of a tweet, approximately. So essentially, the amount of text that a prospect has to read when they land on the page is the amount of text they read scrolling through something like Twitter, which increases the chances they're going to read everything that you send them, and that in turn is going to increase the chance of them converting. The second way this landing page, this conversational landing page, addresses the issues of the older landing page is that the CTA is very simple on this landing page. Most prospects, I'm sure it's true for you as well, use apps like Messenger, iMessage, WhatsApp every day to be in touch with their family and friends. So when they're confronted with a chat interface like this one, they know that they have to look at the bottom of the screen where the keyboard would otherwise be to continue the conversation, which is a significant improvement over 9 to 10 CTAs that they have to sit and think about over here. And that sort of reduces the amount of time they have to spend thinking, and that reduces the amount of time it takes for them to enter into the actual lead generation flow, which in turn increases conversion rates. And the third issue, which I mentioned in the previous one, was the lack of personality in the form. Now, the main differentiator between a conversational landing page and a regular landing page is everything happens through a conversation, even if it's with a virtual agent, someone who's not a human. Now, because you collect leads through a conversation, I'm just going to begin the lead generation process here. So it's asking for my name. I send it over, but the point is that the leads aren't being captured through a form, they're being captured through a conversation. And that makes the whole process a lot more personal, and it makes people feel like they're being heard, especially when they're discussing a serious subject matter like this. And this is, again, something I've learned after speaking to one of our clients who works in the legal space. They told us that their prospects are more likely to convert when they speak to the bot. And they found that the reason that's the case is because when you are dealing with a serious issue like a legal matter, you want to talk to something or someone rather than fill out a form. Now, with that in mind, I think it's worth mentioning something that I didn't mention in my previous video. When you're building a conversational landing page like this, you're not guaranteed to see the results, or you're not guaranteed to see the benefits, which I just mentioned, of having a simple CTA, of having little text on the page to read, and having more people convert when you ask them for the information through a conversation. There are some best practices that are unique to conversational landing pages that you have to incorporate if you want to see the benefits which I'm talking about, the conversion rate increase benefits which I'm talking about. So in this video, I'm just going to discuss a couple of them, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll be discussing more with each video that we do. The first one has to do with the first couple of messages that I've sent. These first couple of messages are what we call a hook at TARS, and this is something that we discuss every time a client sends us a page. We discuss in great detail how we're going to phrase these first few messages, because what we found is that the minute someone clicks a button in the first few messages, they feel a sense of investment in the conversation, and they are significantly more likely to convert into an actual lead. So as a marketer, your aim with the conversational landing page is to just get someone to click a button when they land, because once they click a button, it's very easy to get them to convert. Now, the way you do that is you have to be very careful in the way you phrase this first question. We generally recommend that you ask your prospect a fairly uncontroversial question, which could be answered usually with a yes or a no. So in this case, I've asked them, are you ready to get the compensation that you deserve? Presumably, a prospect who is looking for a personal injury lawyer wants compensation, wants damages for this very harrowing experience which they've had. So it's very easy for them to say yes. And it's because it's a button, all they have to do is tap once and the lead generation flow begins. And that sort of ensures that it's as easy as possible for people to begin the conversation. Once they begin the conversation, they're likely to convert. On the flip side, I've noticed that some of our clients, when they first start to experiment with conversational landing pages, they tend to put a very open-ended question in the front. So something like, how can I help you? And the issue with using a question like that, the issue with using an open-ended question like that, rather, is that you have to sit and think. There's so many possible responses to a question like, how can I help you, that you as a prospect or one of your prospects has to sit and think about how they're going to respond to that question. It's not too different from landing page and considering which CTA you want to click on. It takes time and it increases its chances that the prospect is going to drop, which is definitely something you want to avoid because you're obviously trying to maximize the number of leads you get. Definitely something worth considering. Pay close attention to the hook that you have in your conversation landing page. The second nuance that I want to discuss, unique to conversation landing pages, is the order in which you ask questions. So in a regular form, you can see all the fields. So the order in which you ask questions, it is important, but it's not too important. In a conversational landing page, though, you're asking for one detail at a time. So it is very important that you order the details that you're asking for in the correct way. And what we found, again, speaking to our clients in the legal space, is that what you want to do is you want to ask for the details that are important to the prospect first before you ask for their contact information. So over here, I ask for their name, and then the bot continues by asking for the circumstances around the accident. So motor vehicle accident, let's say at work. And for this next field, let's give it a random string. And once it has collected all of these circumstances, then and only then does it ask for my phone number. And the reason for this is, so one of our clients, actually, we just published a case study on this. They experimented with different flows. And initially, they asked for the phone number first and then the details of the case. And in another flow, they asked for the details of the case first and then the phone number. And they found that the latter version, where they asked for the details first, had a much higher conversion rate. And when you think about it intuitively, it makes sense. People aren't willing to give you something like their contact details, something that personal, until you have offered them some value. So if you ask them for the details of their case first, they feel like they are getting a service from you. They feel like you are genuinely interested in their case and that you are giving them value before you ask for their phone number. So the phone number just becomes incidental to them seeing value from your services, as opposed to the phone number being the first thing that is asked for, which sort of sends a message that all you want is their lead so that you can sell them a service. So definitely consider the order in which you ask questions. Try to ask for contact details a little further on in the actual flow, because that's going to, again, increase the chances that your bot is going to convert leads, convert prospects into leads. And the third sort of nuance that I wanted to discuss, making conversational landing pages, actually has to do that's visible in the first gambit, or we call it a gambit, the first few messages. You'll notice that there are two options I've provided the prospect with over here. One is the yes, I want to submit my case option, and the other one is the I have a question option. Now this second I have a question option is something we've discovered after experimentation with some of our clients. We found that there are a significant subset in most industries. There is a significant subset of prospects who are uncertain about whether they want a service, and their uncertainty stems from a set of queries that is usually very repetitive. So we found with our customers anywhere from 40 to 70% of the user queries which most uncertain prospects have fall into a sort of permutation of the same 5 FAQs. But now the issue is, like, if you want to address those queries, you generally use an FAQ page. First of all, you can't use an FAQ page on a conversational landing page because it's a very simple interface. But secondly, no one likes reading FAQs. So even if you give an FAQ page which answers that, they're probably going to go and fill out your contact form. And what we found is if you include the FAQs, so over here I've included 2 FAQs, within the conversational flow itself, it increases the likelihood that people are going to convert when they interact with your bot. So for example, speaking to one of our clients, they use Google Analytics on the back end of their bot to track user behavior. And what they found was that customers or prospects were twice as likely to convert into paying customers if they had their questions answered through a bot as opposed to a regular FAQ. So we always recommend that you include the I have a question branch in your conversational flow just to capture that group of uncertain prospects who have the repetitive queries that are very easy to answer through a hard-coded button in a chat. And again, the end goal with that is increasing your conversion rate. So that's pretty much it for today. I'll just recap real quick what I discussed in this video. With the initial landing page was they had too much text, too many CTAs, and a form, which is quite impersonal, especially for this use case. And the effect of that is a low conversion rate, or a lower than its necessary conversion rate for a CPC that is $246. And to address that, a conversational landing page uses very little text at each stage of the conversation. It has a very simple CTA, and it asks for lead information in a conversational way, which is more personal than a form. And of course, the considerations that you have to make to ensure that you see those benefits are that you need to have a good hook to ensure that they continue with the conversation, prospects continue with the conversation. You need to be careful about how you order the questions that you have in the lead generation flow, and you need to include a I have a question branch to sort of answer the queries of uncertain prospects who could convert if their questions were answered. So that's pretty much it for today. We'll discuss more nuances like this as we make more of these videos. This is the second video, so any feedback would be appreciated. And if you have a landing page yourself or run Google Ads yourself, drop a link in the comments, and we will do a teardown and transformation of your conversational landing page of your landing page. That's about it. Thank you.